this thing on. Hello, hello. Is there anybody out there? It's been so long since I've streamed. Feels like forever. I guess it's been 3 weeks. But we're back. We're gonna make some games. We're gonna hang out. It's almost Christmas, so we're just vibing. And let's see if I've got some music going. That'll do. That'll do. And we'll just get into things. Because the last 3 weeks I have been just on and off working hard / traveling / visiting family / doing other things. So it's probably a pretty big jump from where we're at now from where we were at last time. And I've done enough that I don't recall all that I've done. So it's kind of hard to give the little walkthrough of everything new. So I'm going to leave it as an Easter egg hunt for you to notice everything new. I'll say this chat window here is definitely new. That's what we're probably going to work on first. I am in the middle of that right now, and as a result, a lot of things are broken. So, seems like a good place to start for me. Excuse me. All right, so how do we do this again? Let's see here. I think maybe the best thing to do. Let's just start out. Let's jump in the game. Let's play for a few minutes. See what all's broken. See what all's working. I'll show off a few of the things that we'll be working on, and we'll just kind of go from there. But if you're new here, this is Elixir Emporium. I'm Andrew Brown, one of two Andrews working on this game, and the basic premise of this game is that we use a lot of really cool tech underneath the scene or behind the scenes to allow you to manipulate the game world in a lot of cool ways. So that means things like generating crafting recipes on the fly. Like there's no crafting recipe in the game for what happens when you combine bread and apples, but you can do that. We'll see what we get. Likewise, we also have a tool system where you can use any item in the game, even ones you've created, on any object in the world. So if we were to take this pickaxe and use it on the ground, excuse me, we'll probably get something. Again, there's no like recipe for what happens here. Probably should be for pickaxe on the ground, but we get a pile of dirt, which seems pretty obvious. But if you run over and use a pickaxe on a tree, maybe you'll get bark, maybe you'll get like chipped wood, who knows. We got our apple bread that we crafted. We got some pine wood. So importantly, also, every time you do any of this generation of like game data, it's set in stone for the rest of your playthrough. So all those recipes get stored and you can use them from then on. So if you combine bread and apples, you will now always get apple bread. So you can kind of form your own like paths of, I'm going to go collect a bunch of apples. I'm going to bake a bunch of bread. I'll make a bunch of apple bread without it being random every time. Just random on the first try. So also, I mean, you can use different tools on different things. Notice our tooltips are broken down here. They should be going upward on the screen, but you'll see each tool also is associated with a specific skill, which you'll obviously be getting experience in when you level up. And let's see here. Some things are broken. I think we need to go fix these close buttons. But we have a bunch of skills in the game that all unlock new things as you level them up. So we just unlocked critical harvests by reaching level 2 nature. So that basically means we now have this indicator, and it's kind of hard to do on really fast moving things, but I guess that doesn't really matter as much on the fast moving things. Let me show you. If we use the saw on the ground, it's a lot slower, but if you press spacebar when the loading bar is in that box, it'll jump forward. You can craft items that both increase the width of that box, increase how much you jump forward, increase like how fast the bar fills, lots of different stuff. We've got a full-on like affix system. Don't think we have much in our inventory right now, but for example, like the Giant's Ring has a bunch of affixes on it. You can equip that. They all have effects. Times 6 model scale is a little bit ridiculous. It's mostly a test item, but you could craft it on your own, I guess. But for example, once you have an item like that, you can, again, combine it with anything in the game because we're generating these recipes on the fly. So if we wanted to take that and maybe combine it with a unicorn tear, which is a consumable that gives you constitution, maybe you'll get a potion that makes you bigger. Maybe you'll get a new piece of equipment that gives you more stats. Only one way to find out. So we got a new piece of equipment that also blends in that constitution stat. So it, again, that saves. It's always going to be that from then on. But that first time you do it, it's random. So it's a sense of discovery and like figuring stuff out each time you play. And what we could do is just like take that, combine it with something that has other stats, like a tool belt, just keep combining stuff, make cooler and cooler items, or breaking things. Well, that's a good segue into some of the things we need to fix on stream. This is actually working as intended, though. For now, we need to like retry it, but I did just add in some code to detect if there was some JSON serialization errors or like other issues with generating new items, and just cancel you out so you can retry it. Though I noticed we didn't get our item back, so curious why. We'll dig into that later. But what I have been... Yeah, that's going to get really annoying. Maybe the very first thing, we'll get a small win. We'll go fix this close button on all these windows. I just added keyboard shortcuts, so now you can open and close all these windows with just your keyboard instead of having to click. But I re-architected some stuff, so I'm guessing these buttons just are pointing to the wrong method now. I think I renamed them. So that's a nice, easy win. But in short, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff to discover in this game. The one thing that, I mean, I guess there's a few things that I haven't really discussed. There's also NPCs. You can talk to each of them. They all have quests. So, for example, this guy, there's kind of a dichotomy of we can hard code in some initial quests to kind of set the world in a state where we want it to grow from and like lead the player down this initial path. So this guy is always going to ask you for a tool in order to open this gate. And when you don't start with all these tools in your inventory in debug mode, you'll be able to give him a tool by first using this tutorial area. There's the resources you need to craft tools. But if you give him, say, a shovel, he does some analysis behind the scenes. It's like, is this item going to solve my quest? He gives you some bread as a thank you. The gate opens, and now you can enter the town, which... suspiciously, you can't enter the town. Wonder if that nav mesh is broken. Yeah, as I said, lots of things broken. So we are not going to make a list of things quite yet because we have plenty to fix off the get-go. But yeah, the NPCs are another missing component that I just hadn't explained. And then the last piece is also workstations that you unlock as you level things up. So like smithing, as you level that up. Ooh, this doesn't work either. Interesting. Wonder why. As you level up skills, you also gain access to different workstations around the world. So anvils, for example, you can break items back down into their components. We know that this gives you bread and apple because we crafted it earlier. But for example, this backpack doesn't have a recipe to craft. So this is going to simultaneously like reverse generate that recipe to let you then craft backpacks in the game if you get these, but also give you back those items now. How kind of you to add a bunch of bugs for us to watch you squash. You know, it's all for the content. All the bugs here are definitely for the stream and not just bugs that I've written. Also, hello there, Cozy. Happy to have you here. I realized I don't have chat in my OBS. There we go. All right, now I can see chat a little bit better. But yeah, these workstations all do different things. Anvil, you break stuff down, but you can also craft new things, and you learn new recipes as you level up your craft or your smithing skill. But basically, you can come in and say, I want to use this as a material, and I want to craft whatever is here. So we'll make a cloth bucket. Or 3 or 4, maybe. Cloth bucket. So again, that item didn't exist in the game, but we make it anyway because we do what we want. Cool. Let's start tackling some of these bugs and figuring out why everything is broken in everywhere. Just for Cozy. Excuse me. So I think the easiest thing, very first thing we want to do is go through all these windows. We have our exit button that I assume, is missing. Toggle window open. We renamed that to... We have toggle window, we have hide window. If you're pressing the button, we always know the window's open, so it doesn't really matter which one to do. But we'll just switch these to toggle window. Easy fixes all around, just lots of clicking. And we are slowly getting more and more windows throughout the game. So I'm wondering now if I should build out something a little bit nicer than having to go set all these manually. But I did notice this one has hide window versus the other ones we're using. What were the other ones using? Hide window. Okay, maybe they all were. But I guess that was all to say. We just updated inventory and skills. I want to jump in and make sure that toggle window is doing what we want it to do before I go through them all and not have to do them all again if not. So we just want to make sure that this closes the window each time. And if we open it by a keyboard shortcut, yeah, that'll be fine. Cool. And I think this is not the vibe of music I was hoping this playlist would be. So let's jump on over to something else. See if that's a little bit better while we continue on doing these. So we were setting them all to toggle, I guess. It doesn't really matter either way. But I just want to stay consistent on all of them. Yeah, I think what I did was rename toggle window. It used to be called like toggle window to show or something. So when I renamed that, all these references broke, except for the ones that were using hide window because I didn't rename that one. But I guess when you, toggle window open. Oh, right. That is what it used to be called. But yeah, I use the Visual Studio shortcut for renaming functions, which usually works for updating all those references everywhere, but apparently doesn't work for button events. So it is what it is. We also have this V2 NPC window that I don't think we use yet. Yeah, it's still a work in progress for new conversations. We have a text billboard window, again, not used yet, but neither of those have close buttons. Text on a scroll. I guess we can do these windows if they have. They should have. Okay, yeah. They do. Alrighty, nice easy win to get the stream going and not have to fight with these stupid close buttons the whole stream. Let's commit that real fast. Fix close button on all UI windows. Cool. So next up, let's take a look at that gate, because I have a sneaking suspicion that we need to bake our nav mesh. Can we show this? How does one show a nav mesh? Gizmos. Right. So we probably just rebaked while this gate was closed. But since we're using the nav mesh obstacle component, we need to disable this and bake our nav mesh, which will open up a path here. And then we can re-enable it, and that obstacle component at runtime carves out. So when the gate opens, it shows this again. So that should be a quick fix on that too. Now, how are we going to find this gate? All right, there we go. Cool. And we probably should do something like have this disabled by default and then enable it at runtime, just so we don't run into this issue again, because we most certainly will every time we bake the nav mesh again. But probably not the highest priority right now. But that should be another quick fix. Cool. We're slowly getting things back in order. I think this is a great time to show off the chat window that I'm working on and talk about some of the bugs that I introduced by adding that. So let's jump in. Let me first defocus it though, so we start at a reasonable start point. Clear chat window. Toggle focus. Cool. So Tony and I, or Andrew and I, have brainstormed a lot of like uses for items in this game. So obviously in this game, if we're generating new game data on the fly, you can play indefinitely. There's always more to explore. But we want to give a lot of use to items outside of just exploring or outside of just discovering items. So one obvious thing that we're going to add in is combat. So as you're crafting stronger and stronger gear, you can dive deeper and deeper into dungeons, kill stronger monster, etc. They'll drop new items for you. That's a nice, very familiar loop for a lot of people in the like ARPG genre. The other kind of big loop that we have in the game right now is the NPC quest system. So we'll run over and talk to this guy. We'll give him a tool just to make sure the gate opens now, since we fixed that and want to verify it. But I'll take us into town and we can talk to some other NPCs, and I can show off some of the like other quests that they generate, because quests are a very big use for items. And all the quests are different every time you play. So it'll give you a nice loop there of, oh, you meet someone you like or don't like, and you want to go help them. You need to listen to what problems they're having and come up with a solution, craft that item, and so on. So if we run over to, say, the blacksmith here in town, who should be around here somewhere. Maybe he's out for a walk. I guess I should mention that all the NPCs can choose what they want to do. We've given them a bit of perception so they can look around the environments. We pass all that around to an AI in their brain that says, like, what do I want to be doing right now? So you'll see that there he is. He's hiding out back here. They walk around, they do stuff. He's probably trying to pick up the scrap metal, but I haven't coded that in. So he's probably just ready to work, wants to pick up some scrap metal, and I didn't let him. Or he's just at home chilling. Hey, Micah. Howdy. Welcome on in. Happy holidays as well. But we've got Bran here as well. As I said, all the NPCs in the game are going to generate their own quests based on like the things that they've seen in the world, their personalities, their history with the player. So each time you play, it's going to be a little bit different. So he's going to start out with a little bit of just introduction. But once you've talked to him, I see we do have an API error, so he might take a minute to retry next time he wants to make a quest. But let's give him a moment to think on his own. He might be stuck on some stuff. But how does the AI perception work? Did you guys code a decision-making model, or is it like legit AI? I will show you. But the gist of it is we have a couple different systems that we pull data in for. Let's see, how's the best way to start describing this at a high level? So each of these NPCs has basically a sphere around them that raycasts out and gives them a list of all the objects near them. I will show that off actually. And so that's kind of a very, very brittle way to do perception right now. It measures how far each thing is so they can see like, oh, there's scrap metal next to me versus the anvil is over there. That is one system combined with they have a memory system. So every time they interact with something or talk to the player or pick up an item, etc., they form memories of I did this thing. And they use those two systems together in order to provide context to a proper AI model that basically says, here's all the things around you. Here's the things you've recently done. What do you want to be doing right now? And the output of that spits out a JSON blob saying like, I want to go pick up this item, or I want to go interact with this anvil, or I want to go talk to the player, or other things. So they're always on this constant loop. I wonder if he is, maybe there's a somewhere infinite in our loop, or maybe he's just constantly trying to pick this item up, but the reason they have memories is to prevent them from being like, oh, I want to pick up this scrap metal, and then immediately be like, I want to pick up this scrap metal. When they have the memories, they'll see like, oh, I picked that up a second ago. I don't need to pick that up again. That's pretty cool. So your NPCs could technically be walking down the road and come into range of like a scrap of wood, and they might be like, oh, gotta pick that up. Yes. And actually, the goal there is almost to encourage that. So I still need to do like longer routes that they can walk to, like points of interest in the world. But for example, if we went over to, let's see, who do we got? Maybe this guy. So we've got a Beastmaster here who I haven't really defined what a Beastmaster means quite yet. But what you could say to him is like, hey, I saw this monster over by the lake. And then he'd ask you some questions. You can talk about it. I mean, we are hitting a couple of bugs that I alluded to earlier. I need to mess up. The key bindings and stuff are pretty rough right now that I've been adding chat. But what you could do is say like, hey, I saw this monster by the lake yesterday. He looked maybe in distress, or however you want to convince him that it's important for him to go check it out. And then the next day he would have that as a memory with the player. And when he's deciding what to do, one of those actions can be like go to a point of interest. And then there's a list of points of interest that he can go to. One of them would be the lake. So he could walk to the lake. If there actually was a monster there, he could interact with it or whatever. But if there wasn't, he might see items along the way. He'd pick those up. A lot of times, the NPCs that come around here, it's usually like a cleric and that guy. They'll try and pick up this item, which is a silver ring. So they see items on the ground, they want to pick them up, and you'll also be able to buy those items off of them if they were to pick them up. So they've got their own inventories. He hasn't picked anything up, but if we sell him some cherry blossom flowers, he'll pay you for them. You could buy them back if you want. Yeah, it's a lot of work in progress systems working together. But the goal is to basically let all these NPCs kind of live on their own in the world, and you can kind of influence them to do things or not, and they'll always be around. Maybe if you wanted to be like a chef sort of player, work a lot on cooking, but you didn't necessarily want to go like fish a bunch of fish or get a bunch of raw meat, you might have luck convincing someone in town like, hey, if you go fish 100 fish, I'll buy them from you. And then they would have that as a memory. So when they're deciding what to do throughout the day, they might be like, oh yeah, the player told me that he needed this, so I will go out here and interact with these objects and collect these items and so on. So that's kind of the goal. I could see some very cool implementations of this, having certain ideas being a very low threshold of being chosen, making certain things become a rare anomaly occurrences. Ooh, that's actually a great idea. Yeah, we're still thinking through a lot of the like what we want to do long term in the game. How there's a lot of questions there of like, do we want it to be a game that you play forever and therefore like want to build up the world? Or is it a game that you want to like be replaying a lot, which gives us a lot of opportunities to like have small chances that maybe the town burns down or like a dragon comes and destroys a mountain, like really, really impactful things? The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but I think those sorts of like rare anomalies that can show up are a really, really cool idea and definitely need to explore them more. Right now, we only have really two systems for NPCs deciding what to do. One of them is like the AI approach of here's all this information, what do you want to do? And one of them is random, which is what we mostly do for like the animals like cats and stuff throughout town. But I feel like for the random one, you're probably right that we should assign some like percentages or like weights of how likely certain things should be. But I need to add in more events that can happen probably first. One of the things that they can choose to do that kind of just happened behind the scenes here is that's an action they choose is to reflect on their life, and that's actually how they come up with these quests. So you'll notice the exclamation mark on her. That means she has a quest for the player. If we run over here to someone who doesn't have a quest, he won't have an exclamation mark. He's going to be doing stuff until he decides to reflect on his life. And that's how he comes up with a quest for the player. We might be able to see an exclamation mark show up soon. They kind of look like they get frozen in the meantime right now because I don't have animations for like when they sit and think, or like when they are kneeling down and interacting with stuff or inspecting stuff. Some of the NPCs out in the world have a little bit more debug on them. I just haven't added them to these NPCs because I'm going to take it off anyway. But with those, you can see like what they're thinking and get a little bit better insight until I add all those animations. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool system that we really just need to add like a lot more content to now. I wonder if I rigged up brains on... I just saw an animal somewhere. Don't think I did. So we have some wildlife in the game right now that you can interact with. Maybe the next thing to do is just hook up a brain on them so we can see them moving around. But we don't have combat in the game. However, you can interact with things. I wonder what you get when you use your bare hands on a deer. I have no idea. I also see... We're going to find out what this error is. Oh, interesting. Yeah, bugs abound. We get some deer hide if we manage to like chase down and use our hands on a deer, which is probably nice and helpful. We also have, obviously you can use tools on anything, so I wonder what we get if we use a fishing rod on a deer. Consumables are another cool system where you can drink them yourself or pour them on things. So this growth potion, which basically just makes you bigger and faster, we can drink it ourselves by pressing Q, or we can use it on other things. So we could use it on a deer, which would be fun. There's some like implications there of we want it to affect stats in certain ways and probably like maybe decrease harvest speed but give you more stuff or something. So there's a reason to use all these things, but haven't really thought all that through yet. It's a cool system. I never thought about raycasting for decision making. Not that I'm the best or most experienced person in the world. Thank you. We're just kind of playing it by ear and seeing what works. Do you do a lot of game dev? And is it Mika? Nice to have you here. I think let's just go ahead and hook up a brain on this deer. Should be pretty straightforward. Okay, and it's a nice little demo of like how some of these systems work. So what I want to do is let's grab our player and bring him over there, so we don't necessarily need to go through the whole rigmarole of that quest and running over and stuff. That's close enough. And I think this, yeah, we can do it on one deer and they should all get the prefab changes. I try here and there, but I'm an older returning CS student in my last year. Just trying to mitigate burnout, exploring the options of what this degree could be for me after the 2,000 applications. Yeah, dang. So, older returning CS student. Do you do computer science now? Are you like programming now, or is it more of a career change for you? I've been doing web development for a very long time, but I only just got into game development last year. Older is in my 30s, not in my 50s. I'm also in my 30s, so we're doing great. I promise you. All right, dear. Actually, it looks like I've already given you a brain, and I now wonder why it's not on. So we have our interactable object. We've got our nav mesh agent. The brain. We should probably turn off AI. And let's double check what all we need there. 30s coders rise up, represent. Cozy is a 30s data analyst, but she knows way more SQL than I do, so we represent. It'd be kind of both. Most of my experience can be chalked up to more problem solving, retention, etc. in a medical environment. Nothing that involved legit coding. That's cool though. I did a freelance job once where I was writing code for like DNA sequencing. That was really, really fun. Very interesting. But I use some Python scripts to do certain things for me and go through large sets of data now. I mean, that's how you start, at least. That's awesome. And now you're going back to school to get a degree potentially. So kudos to you for taking what you want. And Cozy's learning Python for data analysis. She also is just getting into that in the previous few years. So it's a time to improve ourselves, learn new things. Lucy, don't look in those Christmas presents. All right, so why actually is this brain not on? Is a good question. Let's see if we can figure that out. I'm pretty sure all these properties get set on start. So actually I probably want to hide those in the inspector so we're not confused when we see a bunch of null references over here. So let's do that. I think that's just non-serialized. Will that remove body? It will not. Why do we suddenly have syntax errors? Does random bring in a different namespace, or non-serialized bring in a different namespace where random also exists maybe? Had ChatGPT make a lesson plan for me on a real portfolio project. Heck yeah. I won't lie, I love Python. It definitely makes things so easy, assuming I don't need to do something that was scuffed by using interpreted language. I feel like with Python, it's probably one of the faster of the interpretive languages, and I feel like also in our day and age, as us 30s people say, you usually don't need to worry too much about execution speed. If anything, it just costs a little bit more to run a little bit longer if you're like using cloud stuff. But especially Python is getting really, really fast because of all the AI stuff that it is associated with now. And it's probably, there's always a balance of like the really, really fast languages, the compiled languages always just take longer to write, and the interpreted ones aren't necessarily as fast to run, but they're much faster to write. So even from like a business point of view where they want the fastest output and all that, sometimes it even makes sense to do the interpreted languages. I just gotta stop whenever I hit my daily limit. We gotta get you a ChatGPT subscription, Cozy. That checks with what I've heard most people say about Python. Easy to use for so many different things. Absolutely. I like Python-ish. I'm very much a fan of Ruby, which is kind of Python's rival and takes very different opinions on how the syntax should be. But I appreciate Python. It's very, very good. And honestly, if somebody were learning code today, I'd probably say Python is the best. Probably not Ruby, as much as I love writing in it. But yes, the Pythonic way to code things is absolutely weird. I do not like reading or comprehending list comprehensions. They feel too much like a math class to me, and code doesn't have to be like that. But I guess it's fun when you figure it out and it finally clicks in your brain and you're like, I can write all this logic in one little line. It's probably a fun little puzzle. All right, so when we took out the non-serialized decorator, we no longer get errors on our random calls. So that's odd. We have 6 imports here. If we say non-serialized, right, it's going to have us import something using system, which probably has its own random, yes. So all these randoms we have down below, we're going to need to specify that they come from like Unity random or something. I don't even know what the namespace is. Unity engine.random. Yeah, that's it. Cool. So let's add that in. That happens when you've got, when you're referencing a class, but you've imported in 2 different namespaces with the same class. I think that's all. Might be one more. I'll be doing a LeetCode question and have like 30 lines of code, and the listed solution will be like, yeah, 1 line. I also used to do a ton of Perl, which I don't know if you are familiar with Perl. It's not really used that much anymore, but it was really, really popular for code golfing, which is a thing and fun, which is effectively like how short can you write code to be. And the joke about Perl is that you could basically bash your face on a keyboard and it becomes valid code. So you'd get just solutions that are all just like, let's see here, something like this. Probably not valid code, but that's what like the solutions would end up looking like. And you're like, I don't know how they got this, but I'm impressed. All right. So I want to make sure that all these things that are not set are actually being set. So we have body, correct, that's set. I'm going to take them out of the inspector so we're not worried about all these. We also set our sensory service, so let's remove that. That's what does the raycasts out and gets the list of objects. Where do we do that logic? Wait a second, what? I mean, that might explain why things are not working. Surely we just have it in a class of a different name, though. Let's go look at... We've got an NPC somewhere. Border City, NPCs. They have surely a sensory service on their brain. Brain sensory service. Excuse me. I promise that I wrote this code. So how does it work? Let's see what we're doing here. We are in investigatory mode now. So generate queued action to do is gonna, we do all the sensory stuff in the brain itself. I just haven't moved it out to its own surface. Okay, this makes way more sense. I was like, I know this code exists and I see them doing it, but if that file's empty, I don't know why. It's actually something I came up with. My state has published these education goals, and I thought that was interesting, so I'm looking at the gaps in their plan and trying to make a predictive model. Cozy is fixing the government, basically. I should get a plan and do that. Data analysis is something that has been on my radar, and I came across this website called Kaggle that has a bunch of free data sets. Kaggle is so cool. I used to use it a lot for just grabbing data sets back when Like before current AI, we used things called Markov chains basically, and like sentiment analysis was really big. I used to grab data sets off Kaggle for like they've got all the scripts to like South Park episodes and stuff, and so you could do a bunch of analysis of that. I did a big one that was sentiment analysis between characters, so you could see like, oh, Kenny feels this way towards all of the characters, and see which characters like each other back versus characters that are more one-sided, and so on. Kaggle is amazing. Recommend working with one of their projects. Definitely. One day I'd love to compete in one of their competitions. One day. I believe in you, Cozy. You can do it. Oh, hey, Quentin. Welcome in. I recognize you from, is it Human's stream last night, maybe? I know that name. I'm doing well. How are you? A real in-depth evaluation of South Park. Yes. A lot of the code that I wrote before this game studio we started was for writers. So a lot of like analysis on fiction writing, script analysis from Kaggle kind of got me in it originally. But yeah, I'm very much a writer, and I also like code. So anytime I can blend those two, works great for me. Yes. Oh, nice. He shouted you out, so I gave a follow. Well, I appreciate that. Welcome on in. We are working on a big ol' open world crafting RPG where you're basically a wizard. Is the best way to explain it. You have alchemy. You can combine any two items in the game. You can use any item on any object in the game to harvest from it. All the like crafting recipes and harvest recipes and game data and stuff is generated as you play. So it's going to be random the first time that you do it. Well, not quite random as much as like it'll make sense and might be different every time you do it. But from then on, you're basically generating that game data. So you'll be able to play the game from then on. For example, we've got an oak tree here. The classic thing to do in games is to go punch a tree right when you start. We're probably going to get some wood or bark or something. An oak branch, sure. And you can probably make like a tool with that if you find some stone on the ground. We've got oak branch and maybe like a whetstone. It'll either sharpen the branch, I bet, or make some sort of tool. But there's no crafting recipe in the game for what happens when you combine these. We got a sharpened oak staff, which for some reason is a consumable, so there's still some kinks to work out. But from then on, like you combine those, they're always the same. If we maybe sharpen those a little bit more, maybe we'll get something more like a weapon. And there's like NPCs, quests, crafting stations, and so on. Curious why these are generating as consumables, but lots of things are broken right now, so we are slowly fixing them all. When am I planning to release it? We are still working on it. It's a little bit out. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do, but we are planning on having a demo. I guess I can announce it today. We're shooting for January 15th is when to have our first Steam demo. We have a Steam page, which I'll link in chat if anybody wants to like wishlist. It helps us, but also you'll get an email when the demo is out. But we are planning to have the demo soon. I mostly want to just get us feedback on like the crafting system itself. Once the demo is out, we're going to start on adding combat, dungeons, a lot of the like stuff to do with your items. Right now it's just like infinite crafting, and then you talk to NPCs to get quests and figure out what you need to craft. So it's kind of a fun like cozy loop there, but there's not a lot of like action or combat. So once we get this crafting demo out is when we're gonna transition more into like in-game stuff and everything in between. But yeah, January is where we're shooting for, and then the full game maybe, I mean, I would say like a year out, but when it's that far out, it's kind of hard to have a real estimate. And I noticed this is still airing. I bet that's for the brain. I wonder if the brain... do we have quest generation on for this animal? Because we probably... It's odd that value cannot be null on the key. So this parameter here is null. You can't call contains key with null? I guess not. So we want to say person is not equal to null. And that. But we don't have quest generation on. Let's see where this is called. Oh, well, that makes sense. For oh, I see. So in the brain, when this animal is deciding what next to do, one of the flags that we look at is whether they currently have a quest or not. But having a quest requires an attached persona, so like a personality, and animals don't have that. So this was erroring, but this should now evaluate to false. And we probably need a flag for like whether they can have quests, so we don't try and generate a quest for them. So let's go ahead and say if persona is not equal to null there, and maybe we can put all this quest generation in a check instead, because we don't need to do any of this if there's not like a living persona attached to this entity. Cool. Let me catch up on chat. You'll wishlist it. Thank you very much. It helps us. The numbers go up, and I'm excited about the game. I just want to get it out, but you got to do that little marketing here and there. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm working on a game too. Just probably not going to finish it, and if I do finish it, I will never release it because I don't have $100 laying around for a fee. What is the game about? I'd be interested in hearing about it. And also, I don't know if you knew, but the $100 fee you actually get back at some point, as long as you get enough sales. So it's kind of like a, is the game good enough to get it back type thing. Let me take a look. Steam, when do you get the fee back? But I do know you get it back. Oh, you have to sell $1,000. I thought it was $100. Oh, I see. Yeah, you know. Yeah, but I mean, even if you don't put it on Steam, like Itch is a really good one to put up. We have a couple demos on Itch right now, which people are still playing, which is really, really nice, both for kind of getting your name out there and just like letting people play your game, which is really fun. And you can always put it on Steam later if you want. We've got this one, You Are Not Alice, that we get a lot of people playing, where you play as a hacker who's infiltrated somebody's computer, Alice's computer specifically, and you talk to her coworkers as if you're Alice and try and get them to run the virus so you can then access their computers and keep moving through the network and stuff. But we don't have this on Steam yet. We probably will eventually, but it's been really, really nice to have on Itch. I don't know if you're on there, but we get a lot of comments. A lot of people join our Discord and stuff, asking about it. So if you're not putting on Steam, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's a nice place to say like, oh, I finished this game, or like, I almost finished this game. Here's what I had. It makes it feel a lot nicer in the end of like, all right, I can kind of put a close on this project and start something new. Alrighty, so let's also add a little to do. Let's have better. Alright, so this was all just because the quest generation was breaking on things without a persona. Let's jump back in. Let's see if we can actually get this deer walking around. Because it should be pretty simple. All you do for these brains that we built is add possible actions. We're adding more and more actions that we can add to these objects. And then you just click a flag on whether to use AI or to make it random. For animals, we're just making it random, so they'll walk around randomly, they'll move closer to something that they see, and they'll inspect something, which just is like more of a visual thing. We could actually have them interact with things, which would let them like harvest food and stuff from the environment. It might be fun to have some sort of like system later of like when animals are hungry, they interact with food sources, collect those food sources, like maybe eat things or consume things that the player would otherwise want. It might give a reason to like kill animals, I guess. We'll take that out for now. Let's go in here. Let's see if this bug is fixed. Itch has pretty decent user traffic as well. It also has really good discovery too. If people start playing your game and like if you get, I think just a couple comments, they kind of start rolling in, and I feel like Itch does a really good job of like surfacing games that people are actually playing. So if you make something fun and send it to a couple people, if I feel like at least with the demos that we've put out, it's kind of led to more and more people playing, which is nice. Is it a one-time fee or every game you publish? For Steam, it is every game. Every game is $100 fee. Also, we got our deer working. We still have an error that I'd like to look into. Oh, right, because they can't have memories either. We'll think about whether we want to do that. But, I mean, the brain works, so that's nice. We can tweak things to, like, make them move faster or slower, or, like, make decisions faster or slower. And obviously we need animations on things. But at least it works. We'll give them a bigger range that they can walk in, things like that. But let's go ahead and first fix forming memories too, because we probably don't want them forming memories either. You are making a 2D platformer about exploring a dream world with nightmares in between, trying to find your mom, killing everything that blocks your path. To just find out in the final scene that you murdered a whole city trying to find your mom. I think that could be a very, very nice twist. A very impactful twist. Sounds fun. I think it sounds like a very story-driven game. And that'd probably be cool. Do you see, if you had it up on Itch, I would check it out. But do you have it anywhere that I can kind of see what you're working on? Or you can always come back and ping me when it is up somewhere, and I would love to play it, check it out. Sounds like a schizophrenic break a little bit, but you know, that makes for really fun games. So, I mean, you can play a lot with visuals, you can do a lot of cool stuff. And especially with like a 2D platformer, I feel like that's a really good genre for kind of this sort of very emotional storytelling, because you get that kind of natural ebb and flow of like when you have cutscenes and stuff, they're obviously going to be very, very emotional, very probably high tension. But then in the actual platformer, you can control a little bit more of like, it's going to slow the pace down a little bit when players are trying to figure out puzzles or trying to do this pixel for perfect jump or like avoid these enemies or whatever. So it's very, very cool genre and premise. So I like that. I won't lie, I was writing a book kind of in the same realm, just with less murder. I like reading too. When you finish your book, Micah, come on back and I will check it out as well. I just finished reading, I know the real pronunciation is Murtagh, but I, in my head, say Murtagh. Murtagh by Christopher Paolini. And I don't want to spoil things, but they had a very, very good section of the book where the main character did some very similar things and then realized something at the end in a similar way. And it was a very good reveal. So, seems like a good story mechanic to me. Thinking about starting to stream it. It's just a high jump to make. You know? I mean, once you start, you don't have to keep doing it. You can try it out. It is a little bit hard to set up, but if you need any help, you know what? I'll link my Discord. Both for welcome on in. But there's a lot of streamers in our Discord, including myself, and Andrew's also, the co-founder, is also a streamer. We'd be more than happy to help you set up, answer questions, whatever you need. So nice to have you. But if you decide to stream, awesome. I'll check you out. If not, that's cool too. I'll wait for your itch page. Your game sounds very cool. Thank you, Cozy. Thank you, Cozy. Did my best to make a good concept. I think based on things that I read in Human's stream, I'm sure it's a very well done concept. I think I potentially read you talking about it a little bit over there as well. So excited to see it. Alrighty, let's see here. So we add memories to the brain from a lot of places. So I don't think it makes sense to like try and gate whether brains can have memories in all those places. I think it makes more sense in the actual add memory function. We just want to check to see if this brain is capable of memories. And if it is, we'll do it. But if it's not, maybe we just exit out early and maybe do something. We'll be there. Awesome. And I'll check in on Discord after the stream, but happy to answer questions and help you get set up too. It's kind of fun to stream. Like, I normally stream game dev each week, but sometimes I stream games too. I've been playing a lot of like Path of Exile 2 lately, so maybe I'll stream some of that. It's kind of nice to just have like some time set aside where you jump on and either get stuff done or just like play some games for a few hours and hang out with people. Alright, so how do we want to specify whether a brain is capable of forming memories? Should that just be a flag on the brain, I guess? We want to clean up a lot of this, which I'll get back to in a second. So all this is going to clean up out of here. So we'll just start with learned actions. We've got our brain state, which is also only public for now, just so we can see it in the inspector. But maybe we can have a capabilities section, and we can just say like public bool can form memories. And we can separate that out into like can form memories, can retrieve memories, and so on. I like that better than having like can use memories, because for a lot of things we might want to give them memories in the inspector, which are really easy and cheap to query, but they might not necessarily want to form new memories. Just thinking through some of the like gameplay. So with this, it just becomes easy peasy down here to, on our add memory function, we can say if they can't form memories, return. And that we kind of lose whatever memory we generated for them, but I don't think we're actually like generating memories anywhere. It's more just kind of a report of what is done. So it's not like we're wasting tokens or like processing speed. We're just kind of throwing away some data. Oh, you saw someone in there mention Sora, and this is wild. I think that was probably me. I signed up to Sora last night. Absolutely wild. It reminds me a lot of when I first got into like image generation. There's the images were really, really bad, but if you like opened your eye or opened your mind, like if you let your imagination kind of take the wheel, you could kind of see images in them. It's not quite that bad, but it's definitely not realistic in a lot of cases. So it's kind of fun to do that like absurd realism or see that again. But I think Sora is maybe a model or two away from being really, really cool, both in terms of like functionality and price. All right, so we should have this flag set now. We'll see if we still have these errors. Let's go ahead and finish cleaning up some of the stuff up here, because I don't want all this in the inspector. It's always so nerve-wracking to see all these null references. So for all the things that we set here, persona, for example, let's just keep clearing them out. NPC controller we set. We're just setting them non-serialized so they don't show up here. Player layer. Sure. I mean, it's private, so it's already there. But body nav agent. Sure. Original spawn coordinates. Sure. I mean, maybe we should just make these private, but I feel like there are cases where we use some of them from other scripts. We could just make them internal, I guess. I probably just need to like go and kind of audit like how all these are used, and we can, let's just say, to do audit what of these are used elsewhere and sort out, what's the term for these, like privacy, access control, privacy, public, private, internal. What was my very first project? Ooh. I mean, I've been programming for a very, very long time. Since like I was 10. And I've also tried making games for a very, very long time, because like I originally started in like Game Maker, and I had that both on computer and like on the console. If you can imagine making games on a console, you basically let you make like fighter games by just customizing variables and stuff. But I can answer like first project on itch or on in Unity. I mean, I might potentially have it on this computer. Trying to think. I made a Snake game, which was really, really early on. I wonder. It was early on, and the idea was that it was basically Snake, but every once in a while you could return back to home and like sell off your tail. So in the game you were actually like a merchant going out and collecting stuff, which makes your tail longer and longer, and then you go back and sell stuff to start over. It was basically just Snake, but I wanted to make it different. That might be like the first Unity project that I actually finished. There were obviously a lot before that I wanted to do. I worked a little bit on a like 2D platformer on like just like really, really difficult stuff. Trying to make a really hard game. Thank you, Cozy. I will hydrate. I appreciate that. I also, let's see, I might actually have it on itch. One of the like first full game or like full demos I finished, let's see, was a card game. This one, Tales from the Tavern, a weird solitaire game, which I will show off real fast. But basically, I wanted to make a card game. I was playing a lot of Slay the Spire and like Hearthstone at the time, I think. So it was kind of a mix of both, where I was trying to tell stories through a card game. Oof, I don't know about this audio. Hopefully it doesn't come through. It's very loud. But basically the gist was like built a little dialogue system, and then you have different characters that show up at your tavern. That's so loud. Hold on. I didn't build audio controls. And the thought was like they'd come back, they'd have new stories, more people would show up. Each one basically gives you like a different solitaire challenge of how to solve it. So like this herbalist, if you drag her challenge on, you're going to get a solitaire about she had to come to some town. She needed to make a cure, but she had to go get a certain mushroom. There's some backstory here, and then you have like this sort of solitaire where these are the people that went on the adventure. She has to survive to win this challenge and let you like continue on. But there's also like equipment and stuff that you can give to people. There's consumables, so you give them XP to level up. But then a lot of things like monsters, they do damage and they have health. So you have to like say, all right, she does 2 damage, she'll kill him, but he'll do 3 damage to her. Like it's solitaire, but combat. And then you get other consumables that like this will heal, but do other stuff. It's, I wanted to continue on, but the code is just so bad for it. Maybe one day I'll return to it. It needs like good sound effects. It needs some good animations. I know a lot more now, so maybe I can do it better. But basically, if you die, you end up with them saying like, "Oh no, that's not what actually happened," because it makes sense that. What's this? Oh, thank you, Micah. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow. If you fail, the person telling the story, which obviously didn't die, was like, oh, I didn't remember that right. So then they show up at the tavern and you can do somebody else's solitaire challenge or like try theirs again. And then the eventual goal is like to finish all the challenges, and then you'll see all their stories like converge. But I didn't get that far. But it's a fun little game. I like the solitaire aspect of it. Cozy remembers me making this one. I worked on it for so long. It was like the first Unity project that I was determined to actually like get to a state where I could put it on itch and not just give up in the middle. Everything before then was like I'd build this cool thing and then it wasn't quite polished up enough, or it wasn't just good enough or finished enough to put anywhere, so I just move on to the next thing. But that one holds a special place in my heart of just actually finishing it. It has good vibes. Thank you very much. Twitch has a whisper function. I think it does. I've never actually used it before. I'm not actually sure. I would assume so, though. Cool. Well, turns out this inspector all looks nice and clean. Let's move our debug stuff down below. And now we should have a much nicer format for everything. Let's actually also move this guy up to capability section. So whether it uses AI to make decisions or whether it's random, whether they can form memories, and this will all go away. It's just debug public for now so we can analyze stuff. But it looks like the goat walks around, so that's cool. Can someone whisk me the link of the Discord and itch page, because I'm on my phone now and don't have Discord on my phone. Wanted to check tomorrow. I'll whisper it to you after the stream. Unless I can do it right now from OBS. Not sure if I can though. I don't think I can. So I'll whisper it to you after the stream. Thank you though. Let's see. So we have one guy out in the nature who has debug stuff on him. I want to grab that stuff and put it on the goat so we can better figure out what the goat is doing. We've got our debug info billboard. Let's go back to our goat, wherever he was. Is that you? Different goat? Same goat? Guess he was next to the player. This goat. So let's give him our debug billboard. And so here is where we have the debug stuff useful. Put our actions and queue and memory count. Because I noticed when we were watching this, he kind of just stood in place for too long. So I just want to see like what he's doing at that time. What country am I from? I'm from the US. Currently West Coast US, so Pacific time. How about you? Where are you from? And do you celebrate Christmas in your country? Is this a normal Tuesday for you, or is this New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve? Oh right, I didn't set the billboard over here. Let's fix that real fast. Also, I think I said thank you for the follow, Micah, but thanks again. I appreciate it. Let's see. Position, cool. It'll billboard correctly. Is this the right deer? Yeah, it is. Okay. Cool. Now we can actually see in their brains, which is a silly thing to say. Nice, from the Netherlands. Oh, nice. I and Cozy, my wife, lived there for 3 months in Amsterdam one time. It was a very nice place. Would recommend. Inspecting a deer. I wonder if it's... Oh, we probably need to exclude itself from the objects nearby. I just realized. Because the brain probably doesn't know that it's a deer. So it's just going to be like looking at tall grass. We probably want to also decrease the radius that it can look at things. Because, or well, maybe not. I mean, I guess it has inspecting for getting up close to things. Hi there. That's cute. Well, I think it's working. It's just a little bit weird sometimes when it just stands in place and you're not sure what it's doing. But I guess the animations, when we add them, of like when it looks at stuff, it'll make more sense. All right. Well, that seems to work. We love the Netherlands. Yes. The only phrase I remember from being over there is, oh man, I can only think in Swedish now. I don't remember. I want en klein coffee. I feel like every time we knew it better over there, but every time we went to a coffee shop, we'd try and say a little bit of Dutch, and every time they just would correct us in perfect English of, "Oh, do you mean that you want a small coffee?" And we'd be like, "Yeah, but we wanted to also try our Dutch." But we loved our time over there. It was very, very fun. All right, we do have errors still. Let's dig into... Oh, we probably just didn't toggle off whether they could form memories. Oh, yes. I still remember tote scenes, because I could say that on my way out of a shop without them making me switch to English. Ah, yes, and alsjeblieft. Couldn't spell it at all, but I think that's thank you. I remember you saying that yesterday in the stream chat. Yes, yes, yes. I was trying to flex a little bit. Let's see. Let's turn this can form memories off, use AI off, and then let's apply these changes to all the deers. Let's go ahead and maybe turn off the billboard for everyone, but yeah, I think deers should be good, and I think our fixes mean that other wildlife should also be fine, because they were just erring on forming memories and checking to see if they have quests. We wrote in code to prevent that. I guess other wildlife might default can form memories to true, so we'll need to double check that, but we can look at that another time. I don't know how much other wildlife we have right now. Cool. Well, that's a small thing done. Let's check that in real fast, and then I'll catch back up on chat. So fix non-persona NPCs action generation. Sure. All right, let's see where we're at. I also always have Ich bin unjongen stuck in my head from Duolingo. It's not an accurate phrase for me, but it's so fun to say. What is jongen? Jongen. It means I am a boy. Oh, I see. You're rolling up on the grocery store and the parking lot is full. Good luck, Cozy. Both times that I've been out the last 2 days have been wild. So I think it's good that you're going midday instead of after work. But I still think a lot of people are off today. So good luck. I appreciate you going. Thank you. Get yourself something nice while you're out. Let's see. Youngen is boy. It always sounded like youngin to me. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think learning some Swedish has corrupted my brain, and now every word, even the Spanish I knew, is turning into Swedish. Oh, hey, Bad Cop. Welcome on in. Thank you. Happy holidays. Happy to have you here. What are you up to today? And thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. We don't have grocery delivery service. We have had our groceries delivered, but I feel like the delivery service of our grocery stores is pretty poor. Almost always, like, the people picking up the groceries are like, I couldn't find this thing, or I substituted your black beans with meat, or something ridiculous. And even when you do like the pickup, they do that a little bit. So we did it for a really long time, especially during COVID. But now we just go and pick it up ourselves because we're kind of tired of not getting the things that we order. But maybe we should try it again sometime. You're doing nothing today. Well, welcome on in. We're also doing nothing. I broke so many things last night. as I was adding in something that I haven't even resumed working on today, which I'll show off, I guess. But we are slowly fixing a bunch of bugs. We're working on a big open world RPG. Let me catch up on chat for a second, and then I'll show you around. I always just order online, have them walk it out to the car. Yeah, that'd be nice. I feel like we should just have robots pick up all the groceries for us. They probably wouldn't get it wrong. All right, Deer walks around now. Great. Black beans, those are similar enough to M&Ms. You know, that's kind of the logic of like, we'd order kale and they'd be like, I don't know what that is. I'm not getting that. We have them delivered every week. The Netherlands has great service. You hear that, Cozy? I guess we have to move to the Netherlands. Admiral Quentin says it's great there, so we gotta. I'm sorry. Staying home. They were out of kale. We got you some green paper. Exactly. Like, they're out of kale. Here's some garbage. Staying home, sitting in my chair. This. See, Dutch for me is like, when I start reading it, especially after English, my brain immediately thinks that you're just like adding extra letters in and typoing things really bad. And then I realize it's proper words. This I cannot pronounce it. I'm sorry. I would try though. This is the deer equivalent of a T-pose. Yes, we have no animations on any NPCs. I will run us over to one of the towns where we will see proper T-poses. But yes, I was going to say, in this game, it's a big crafting RPG. There's a lot of cool stuff going on tech-wise under the hood. Basically, you can combine any two items in the game. You're an alchemist. So, for example, if we take some scissors and I don't know what would be good with scissors. You know what? Let's combine like a growth potion and an eye. I mean, you can do anything. I don't know why it's so hard to choose. Let's combine a grape and a backpack. What are you gonna get? I don't know. Maybe a grape backpack. There's no crafting recipe for what you get when you combine a grape and a backpack. But we generate all that on the fly. So now you've got a grape sack, which you can equip, which will give you more inventory size. That saves it as a recipe in the game. So like as you play, you'll get a lot of, you will basically fill out your notebook of all these recipes that you've discovered. So if we do grape and fruit, we'll probably get some like fruit salad or something. And then the goal with that is that you can, fruit basket. I wasn't too far. You eat it to restore some health. The goal is basically to go talk to some of these T-posing NPCs. They can generate their own quests. So we just saw an exclamation point on her come up, which means she has a quest for you. So they will give you some sort of randomly generated quest, and hers, there's a storm last week. Every stone she touched turns to sand. Obviously that's bad as a stonemason. And she's just going to leave it open-ended of like, please solve my quest for me. And so there's going to be a lot of different ways that you could solve it. You can make like a potion, which maybe enchant. What I would probably do is maybe make some gloves so she's not touching stones. So maybe we go out to that deer, harvest some deer hide, use like needle and thread, which we have, but could also like buy from NPCs. Make her some gloves, and then you'd give her something and solve the quest or not. There's a lot of stuff like follow-on quests and things that basically use whatever item you gave them in their previous quest to generate their next quest of like, if we gave her some enchanted gloves, her next quest might be like, hey, these gloves you gave me are making my hands numb all the time, so I need something else to fix that. But it's a very open-ended, like quest-driven crafting RPG. We're gonna add combat in later, so you'll be able to like create equipment and stuff and go fight harder and harder monsters. We are also, what I broke everything with last night is adding chat. So you'll soon be able to basically talk to all the other people that are playing the demo at the same time, and you'll be able to link the items that you've crafted. So if you craft something really cool, you can link it in chat, which is kind of like a fun way to play too, is just like crafting really weird things to show off. That's probably what I'm most excited about. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. But there's also like skills, there's workstations that let you craft in different ways, there's a whole world to explore, lots of stuff to do. So we're working on it. All right, let me catch up on some chat. I also experience the sub thing, but my website has an app, so if I'm paying attention to it, I can cancel their sub. That's a good idea. We used Safeway's app for a while that kind of did that, and it gave you some options of like, what do you want to sub? But even then, all the options are like, oh, we don't have bread. Would you like to sub pizza crust or dough? And it's like, all right, neither. I'll just go buy other bread. Wasn't the greatest suggestions then. You'll start sending messages. You guys got this instead? I'm pretty sure they hate me. Maybe. I mean, also delivery, I feel like costs extra. So maybe that goes to pay for the people that are helping you. Hopefully. Dutch is hard to learn. Absolutely. We also talk with the hard G. Give me an example of the hard G, Quentin. How long have I been working on this? We have been working on this for about a year, I think. We started, the first like 4 months was actually a 2D version, which I'll bring up real fast. Which was basically just a prototype of the crafting system and the quests. And it was pretty fun, but when we played it, we wanted to like be harvesting items. Like we'd get a quest and be like, ooh, I have a really good idea for a quest solution. Like I want to craft this thing. And then there was no way to like get all the components to craft that thing. So we were like, all right, we need to build a full-on world with multiple crafting systems, lots of stuff. But basically it's the same sort of thing. Like combine an empty bottle with dirt, you get a bottle of mud. You combine that with the crystal, you get enchanted mud. You combine that with needle and thread, you get mystic stitch. And maybe combine that with spider silk and you get enchanted silk cloth. Like it's basically like we didn't code any of these crafting recipes. It's a whole thing. You give this person this item. It's probably not going to help because I didn't even read their quest. But it actually did help. It's perfect for reinforcing their boots and protecting them from harsh heat, apparently. We had a bunch of other stuff of like you can travel around to different locations, which are also generated, and like each of those locations have new NPCs, which are also generated. Each time you travel, you can forage for some basic stuff, which is like the precursor to this entire game that we've built. Your codex has all your recipes. You can shop. You can craft items just to sell them. Like there's a lot of stuff to do here that we've kind of brought over into this. But that 2D part was like 4 months, and then this part is like probably 8 months on top of that. And we're planning on having a demo of the crafting system in January. I'll again link the Steam page in the chat in case you want to wishlist it. You'll get notified if you want. But this guy came over and talked. I forget that I added the ability for NPCs to open their own dialogue with you, which is a whole thing. I feel like they talk to me way too much. But we're probably like a year out from the full game release, I would imagine. But we're working on some other fun stuff in the meantime also. But yeah, that's kind of what we're building. Lots of stuff potentially to do. We just got to build it all. And, you know, there's skills. I don't know if I mentioned that. You level them up, but I think I also mentioned you can use any item on the game or any item in the game on objects. So if we take these scissors, use them on a maple tree, it's going to generate those harvest recipes for us. But we could also like maybe use a crucible on that maple tree. Scissors give us maple leaves. Crucible gives us, we'll see. But it's very like open-ended on the quest system. Really, is like you get a problem, you come up with a solution, and you have all the tools that you need to go collect all the items that you need to craft that solution, ideally. Do you have stamina? Yes, you technically do. We're calling it energy here. We're still figuring out how we want all that to work, because stamina is basically like, it's really, really good at kind of guardrailing the player into what you want them to do. So a good example of that is like Stardew Valley. Like, stamina's purpose in Stardew Valley is not to limit what you can do, but to make you make choices about what you want to do throughout the day. Like, there's never things that you can't do because you don't have enough stamina. Like, you always can go back to bed and go do that tomorrow. But it serves as a like a choice maker to add not tension, like add purpose behind the things that you choose to do. So we have energy and we also have mana here. Stardew Valley mentioned. Heck yeah. Energy will probably be, I think, something similar, like probably harvesting from objects in the world will take energy. Eventually when we have combat, things like jumping and rolling and like attacking, blocking, those sorts of things will take energy. And so we'll have that sort of what do you want to do today feeling of like, do you want to do a bunch of magic in the morning so you have a bunch of energy to go dive into caves at night? Or do you want to like harvest and then do magic at night, or however you want to do things? Still figuring out how we want energy to work in, because I don't want it to feel like it's just like artificially extending the game and like telling players, you gotta wait, which is how it's kind of perceived in a lot of games, especially like mobile games nowadays, is like as soon as you see energy, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay to refill my energy, right? Or like even in games I love, like Diablo 2 is a good one. They have stamina for just running. And if you run for long enough, then you have to walk because you're out of energy. And that kind of sucks as a system. I think RuneScape had the same system. And there can be uses for a system like that. Like in horror games, it becomes more of a decision-making thing of like, normally you want to be walking in order to save your running for when you need to run from like a monster or something showing up. Versus like in a game like this, you're always running, so you don't want to be like every 30 seconds or so needing to rest and regain your breath or something. So we're still figuring out how we want energy to fit in this world. But yes, if you have any ideas of what like you think energy would be good for in this world, I would love to hear them. We're putting out this demo so we can get a lot of feedback, and so feedback now is also great. We're kind of building games inspired by games we love, and so we want them to be fun for us, but we also want them to be fun for everybody else too. But we also have mana, which will probably be used more for like when you use alchemy or some of the spells you can learn. A lot more freeform there, but again, we need to figure out like how we want it to fit in the world. But a good example of like why energy exists already is like at the blacksmith anvil, you can break down an item into its parts and you get XP back. So what you could do is take like this grape backpack that we made, you craft it together, You get a great backpack. You drag that into the anvil. You break it down. You get XP when you break it down. You get XP when you make it. It's just like infinite XP at that point. So we need to have some sort of like limiting factor there of you can't just craft stuff, break stuff down, craft stuff, break stuff down, because it's pretty commonly known that players often what's the term? Something. Dang, what is that word? Optimize out the fun. So if we give this option of like infinite XP, if we give this option of infinite XP, it becomes an option that players can do, but it's not fun. So you now are in a position where players either feel bad for not doing it because they want that XP, but they don't want to do the boring thing, or they do it and it's not fun. So we just want to make sure that they are not like min-maxing out. Like we want them to gain XP by exploring and doing fun things versus just like doing the same thing over and over again in a repetitive, boring way. We are pretty stuck here. So I'm realizing the code that I wrote, we have an unstuck button. Oh, okay, it will work. So it just teleports you back to town. Whew, my throat is killing me. I took 3 weeks off streaming, and I don't think I've talked this much, even while visiting family, for the last, 3 weeks at least. We are off the nav mesh? Okay, we're good. So, yeah, just chatting away. I'm sure there are more bugs we can fix. I'll get to them in a second. Curious why this is feeling so laggy all of a sudden. Something to do with our nav mesh. Well, that's enough running around. Let's see if we can find another bug to fix. So we got our deer walking around. That is great. I was planning on working more on the chat system on this stream. But it's kind of like I'm learning how stuff works. So it'd probably be just me a lot of reading. So probably find something else. Is it AM or PM there after lunchtime? After lunchtime, it is PM here. Is it not PM there as well? I mean, I know you have 24-hour time, so maybe you don't use AM or PM, but generally AM is the morning, PM is the afternoon. Okay, so we could do some sort of check here for if we're on a nav mesh or not. If we're not on a nav mesh, we probably need some sort of recovery system to put us back on a nav mesh. But let's hold off on that. I want to do something a little bit more fun. Maybe some things that we can do are adding in a little bit more content, because we have, for example, our trees that we can interact with, but we can also, and I've been meaning to add multiple things to interact with on each object. So, good example of this, let's go find our player. You know, a 24-hour clock. We don't use AM or PM. Thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, it's generally PM in the afternoon. Here, at least. But Yeah, let's do this real fast. So we have our oak tree, for example, and left clicking on this oak tree always just interacts with an oak tree. And we also have our right click to inspect menu of like, if you were to right click from this angle, we fire out a raycast. It hits the ground, it hits the grass, it hits a tree, and so you'd get a menu of like, do you want to interact with this, this, or this? We're going to do the same thing for this tree. And so we're just going to say, in addition to an oak tree, we can now say like oak tree trunk and oak tree leaves. And what we'll do is make both of these right click only. And let's jump in and make sure that works. But I think that'll work very well. It'd just be super easy to do, and we can add that to a few more like objects in the world. And we'll apply the prefab changes so like it applies to all the oak trees and stuff. It's 11:55 p.m. here. Dang, it's almost Christmas for you. You better get to sleep before Santa comes. Excuse me. Alright, so now when we left click on an oak tree, it's always going to interact with the oak tree. However, if we right click on an oak tree, it now gives us options for whether we want to specifically interact with the oak tree as a whole, the trunk, or the leaves. So maybe a good way to see the difference would be like a fishing rod. If we were to use that on the trunk and that on the leaves, maybe we'd get two different things. So we got oak bark strips, makes sense from the trunk. We use this on the leaves. We get bundle of oak leaves. Sure. And then I'm curious what we'll get with just the oak tree itself. All right, deer, what are you doing? Yeah, squeezing on by. We just get twigs. All right. So what if we use a fishing rod on a deer? Haha, you're right. Think I'm gonna go to bed. Have a good day and best of luck with your game. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. It's good to have you here. Tell Human I said hi next time you're in there. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks again for the follow as well. Cozy, I see you there. What are you doing, dear? I'm grocery shopping. Oh, we're getting... Oh. Deer carcass. Interesting. So, technically what we could do for things like deer or anything else, we have a setting on interactable objects of making them limited harvests. And then they get deleted or die after you've harvested enough times. We could do that on deers, but I think what we'll eventually do is have some sort of harvest workflow where we chain AI prompts to say like, the player harvested this item from this object. Should we change this object at all? And so that would cover things like if you use a tinderbox on a tree, you harvest maybe some ashes, and then it'll say, yes, we should change the object, delete the object. Or, oh, we harvested a carcass from the deer. Yes, we should change the object, delete the object. Have a good day. Don't forget the whisper. I won't. Let me actually do it right now, just so I don't forget. Thanks again for the reminder. Let's see if I can do this. Whisper. How does one whisper? Whisper. There we go. And if I just covertly link Discord and chat, I can get that link, and it has been whispered to you. Awesome. Have a good night, Quentin. See you next time. All right, so we successfully added a little bit more content to this tree. Let's go ahead and apply that to all trees, or all oak trees of this model at least. But obviously there's a lot of different trees, so maybe we don't necessarily want to use the whole stream to just like go through and say, all right, this oak tree, let's add oak leaves. This maple tree, let's add maple leaves, etc. Maybe I'll do that off stream, but it's nice to have the system in place to be able to add more. Had my own stream open. I was hearing my voice back. Have more things to interact with. Because this is all like serving being able to craft the item that you want to craft. So next thing that we could do, let's double check the nav mesh over here. We were getting some weird stuff. So we should be able to do what I was trying to do. So, what to do next? What to do next? Nobody knows. I mean, I was just learning how link tags work in text messages or in like TextMesh Pro messages. Let me bring up my notes on that. We will see if I can maybe get something working here, maybe. Let's see here. Where was I even doing that? So, right, let me talk through the chat. So, the thing is with chat, adding chat on its own is really simple. It's not that hard to like build a server that you can send text messages to, and then those messages get sent out to all the clients. Everybody sees those messages in their chat. When you start adding complexity is when you add linking items. And so most games, what they will do is they will have a message or like a custom message. Oh, don't want to link my private build settings. Hold on. Let me open a new notepad. So what they'll do is saying like, instead of saying, hey, this is a message, like that's the most basic case of a chat message. If you look at like World of Warcraft or Diablo or Path of Exile or whatever, you might see messages that are like, hey, I crafted big sword. And then when you hover over big sword in the chat, it'll show a little tooltip for that item that the player can see, and all players looking at the chat can see. And so what games will typically do in cases like this is they'll just have some sort of secret tag like this, which is the item ID. And so you still have that text message that sends out to all the clients. They get something like this, and the clients just say like, oh, look up the item with ID 1234. Let's grab its name. Let's put that name in here when we display that chat message. And then when the player hovers over that, let's show a tooltip for that item's ID. That would be easy. However, the nature of our game is we don't have a centralized like repository of items. We're not shipping the items in the game, or we're not shipping the game with like a bunch of items. We have like a couple hundred hard coded in, but like the majority of items are going to be items that the player has crafted on their own and generated on their own. So there's no like, if you combine a Crucible and an Eye of Madness, and you get this item back, whatever it is, and somebody else playing the game also combines a Crucible and an Eye of Madness, they might get a different item. So we got a Molten Insight, which, say I want to link that to chat, there's no like shared ID that I could send to all the other clients playing this game saying like, get this item, show its name. When you hover over it, show this item's data. So what we end up needing to do is actually hard coding in the actual data itself. So it end up looking like, what's it called? Molten Insight. And then we have like a bunch of stuff. And so this is kind of where I was going to work on chat and get that embedded in the chat system. I was just learning about how the TextMesh Pro link tag works, which basically would, I've got a better example here. Let's see, here. So what we can do is have a link tag like this, and it'll show this name while hiding all of the data. And what I think is this will be a much better solution than like when each client receives this, they effectively need to extract out this, put it in here, format it to make it linkable, and then like save this data somewhere else to show when a player hovers over this, which we need to detect with like probably TextMesh Pro's get intersecting word, which works really well when items are only one word long. But now if you have items that are multiple words, you need to like say, oh, if they're hovering over this word or this word. It gets really, really complicated really fast. So I just learned about this link tag. So that should let us say something like, hey, I crafted this. And then we kind of see an example of that already. Let me literally just put it in. We can just get started. By the way, we've reached the very, very technical side of the stream now. I'm going to actually write some code instead of just flying around and adding content and, we'll get some stuff done. But also feel free to ask questions and distract me because I'm just here to hang out anyway. I just finally did all the small things that I was procrastinating with, and it's time to get the real work done. All right, so we have our player chat window with a conversation history, with a message history. So in here, let's look at this. So I'm going to take a look at this one. So if we replace this hard-coded item that I was just testing with, so if we put in big sword like this, we probably need to, one, stylize this. Maybe we can find a way to stylize all links in a TextMesh Pro. But we also need to add highlights. So when you hover over big sword, it shows the item tooltip for that, and it'll do that from pulling this. So actually, what we should probably do, let's go grab an example serialized item out of one of our prompts. That should work, I believe. Maybe we should get a more up-to-date example. Let's do this. Nice tool. All right, so in this message, we now have all the data for an item in, we're gonna have to escape the quotes, I guess. Yeah, single quotes, that's fine. Although if we do single quotes and an item's name has a single quote in it, we can't actually escape the single quotes because the single quotes mean it's a literal string. So this would actually print backslash and single string. So we do need to properly escape these, which we can do just so we can escape other things as needed. So let's escape all these. Make sure that this prints correctly. Suspicious. Okay, did I miss something? Item name, 1. Okay, they're all escaped. I wonder if there's something that link tags can't add in. So let's try this. We have this full thing. We can put pieces in. So item name, fire, pigs, that's just fiery axe. So can we do JSON? We can. Let's go ahead and update this. So now if we add another key to the JSON, ooh, I wonder if the commas are an issue. Item type, tool. Yeah, so that makes it no longer valid. This comma right here. Or not? Huh. So, but this works. So let's figure out why one works and the other one doesn't. It's because these are bare words, maybe? No. I have never used these link tags, so we're going to be trial and erroring a few things. Let me hit a light as well. Had to close my window because the sun was in my face, so we get our light from the artificial sun. Alright, so why does this work? You know what? We can just run on over, use our handy dandy sages in Discord and say, Unity Sage, why does TMP properly show this link tag, this one, but not this one? And we see what we find. JSON string is represented, expects link attributes to be properly formatted, and any quotes inside the string should be properly escaped. Okay. Did I just not escape it correctly? Let's see what the difference is here. Nope, that one also doesn't work. But I bet maybe with the single quotes it will. Yeah, okay. Single quotes works, but for double quotes, example doesn't. What should I do if I use single quotes and there are in the comma? Because I'm pretty sure you can't escape in single quote strings. Escape the inner single quotes. Can't escape. Right. Use single and double. Use mixed quotes. Does this work? Oh, I guess we could do single quotes on the outside, I bet. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay. I mean, we can also just use like, I think it's like end quote or whatever. To display those single quotes in the content. Let's see. So question here, do we need the single quotes on the keys? Because I don't think we serialize with them. I mean, maybe we do. Okay, rather than rewrite this, let's just say, can you rewrite that with single quotes? So we don't mess up and type it wrong. Okay, we'll throw that in a link tag. Link equals that fiery axe. Let's nix the attributes key. Okay. So why? Up here works. Down beneath does not. So let's just start normalizing them to be the same thing. See where the change comes. So if I were to delete all of this here, starts working. So the problem is somewhere in there. I can nix these quotes here. And again, delete all this and starts working again. Let's do 2 of these. And delete that. Does not work, okay. What if I delete the description as well? It does work, okay. So I think it's... So if I just delete the description. Okay, it's something in the description tag. Interesting. Why? Is it because it's multiple words? No. Huh. Is description a reserved word? So that works. If we call this description 2, still doesn't work. Okay. Is it because description follows a non-quoted value, maybe? No. Alright, this light's too bright. We gotta put on our thinking hat. We're gonna figure this out. So, why? I don't see anything different between this and like item type tool. But I see if we take out description and duplicate item type tool, it also stops working. So it's something along the lines of, well, we already have multiple quoted values. Item name, we don't have duplicate keys. Why does this work? This doesn't. Can we just foo bar? That works, okay. So we change foo to description. It stops working. Wait, is there a max max length on keys? Because discrete works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But attributes also works. Why does this work, but when we add a P, the link tag no longer works? Ghosts in the machine. Huh. Yeah, all letters. So it seems like it's key length. Huh. So let's put this in. If we delete that. Oh, right, we missed a comma here. Well, that doesn't work either. Could it be... Ooh, I wonder if there's a length on the link data. You survived the grocery store. Congratulations. Thanks again. I hope it was not that awful. And I hope you got yourself something nice for being so brave. I will see you soon, hopefully. Is there a max length on link data? Yes. Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously, yes, 2 billion characters can be a max length. That's not what I was talking about. Okay. Well, I'm glad you survived, Cozy. We're going back to foobar here, which still works. We name this description, and then we go to where it starts working. So here, so desk bar works. If we add an R here, it stops working. But if we remove an R here and add it here, it's the same length. So I'm guessing it's a max length on the link tag itself. Let's just go look at the documentation. Link ID should be unique. Sure. Is an ID. Link info array contains the ID once. Sure. Maybe it's not a good idea to be trying to store this data as the link. All right, let's figure this out. So we have I mean, we could like convert it to base 64 or something, but I feel like that also grows in size. So we would like compress it more, but there's still a point in which it doesn't fit. If this even is the problem. Let's say it looks like the link. Wait, they use a data tag here. Can we just do that? We don't necessarily need it to be an ID. Data. Okay, that works, but if we remove 5 characters from here, might still be the max length. Yeah. Huh. Looks like the link stops working when the data reaches a certain length. Is there max length on TMP links? Works, but I see. Yeah, we don't want to do that. This isn't going to work because base64 keeps growing. We don't necessarily have a way to do an ID reference because we would also need to share the item data through the server. This would work if all the items were shared across all clients. What about if I can't truncate data? I mean, we can just go back to like other approaches on the items. Like, let's see here. I think I started writing up something, but I think this is one of those things where need to go back to the drawing board on how we want to include and encapsulate this item data in the chat. And, you know, we've just been vibing today, so I'm going to go back to that drawing board. I see Cozy just got home, and I'm going to go say hi to her. And I think this is a good stream for today. I met some fun new friends, and I should be back next week. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll figure stuff out. Demo in January. Code streams every Tuesday. I'll probably stream some other stuff on other days, but follow the Discord if you want notifications. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.